the chance to look into that. And the comment that was made by myself was that the first place to start is the mind. But it's not a Bible session. I always go to Bible. Because every aspect of our lives can be directed and directed by Bible. Right? And throughout scriptures we will see where God especially highlights for us to focus our mind, don't be conformed to this world, but transformed by the renewing of our mind. Alright?
Yeah.
So I want to highlight or focus today on what we talk about the mind, the mindset. Now, according to the American Psychological Association, the term mindset is basically the state of our mind, right? The condition of our mind that influences how we think about things and then act it out, right? And then that will help us to optimize our function as we go along, all right? So why does this mindset matter? The very first point highlights that the mindset plays a critical role in how we cope with life's challenges. So imagine, for example, just pointing out an example before we go to other slides. Imagine if we always have a negative mindset. Every situation that we go in is always going to be negative because our mind is already set in a negative state, right? It determines, our mindset determines how we act, it determines our attitude, and it also determines our behavior. Look at the last point, it also determines our life's course of action. Now we're not going to go down the part of, God directing our lives and God planning out our life. But however, we have to also take into consideration that our disposition and our attitude towards a situation, God works with that as well. So our mindset can put us at a disadvantage if we're not careful. Alright? Now we're going to look at the type of mindset. I know I heard Brother Barry bringing up one off. So the first type of mindset is a deliberative mindset. So I'm just going to break it down in layman terms because it's kind of hard to understand if you read it just like this. But the deliberative mindset is a mindset where this is what I want. I'm going to look at the situation openly and honestly, and I'm going to ask myself what are the pros and the cons of taking such course of action, and then I'm going to act upon that based on the consequences that we have discussed with ourselves or in our minds, right? That's a deliberative mindset versus the implemental mindset where we basically say, let's go down the road and whatever happens, happens. Let's see where it goes. Alright? Before I continue, nothing is wrong with having an implemental mindset, especially it comes down to Christianity. We don't know what's happening down the road, but by faith, we're going down there, and what happens, whatever happens because we're leading into that. So nothing is wrong with having an implemental mindset, as long as the motive behind it and the future consequences and future actions to come is within under God's will. God's will. That's where we're going. Alright, so now we have the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is one where we believe that our abilities are fixed. We have a fixed trait and can't change. Either some will come, some will go. Can't change. No matter how much you're educated, no matter what happens in life, it just remains the same. Alright? Versus the growth mindset is one where we believe that our talents and our abilities can be developed over time through effort or persistence. Sure.
In terms of a person at school, how that affects a person at school, at work, or at church, a person having a fixed mindset.
Alright. So if it's a case where I have to think about the question carefully, because in each aspect, the type of mindset that is required is different from another. Or in one situation, both mindsets can work, right? So for example, let me explain what I mean. If it is a case where, for example, at school, we have a fixed mindset and say, this is why I'm going to school, this is my goal, this is what I'm going for, that's not going to change. No matter the influence, no matter what is coming in, what's going on around me, this is the aim, this is what we're going to achieve. And we act upon that. Nothing is wrong with having a fixed mindset. Spiritually, we're staying in the Lord. This is where we are. Wherever God leads, that's where I'm following. Yes, that's where I'm staying. I'm not leaving. Nothing can change that. Nothing is wrong with having a fixed mindset. Growth mindset. If you're going to school, you're going to learn. You have to be willing to learn. You have to want to learn. Unless you're going to class and you're going to sit at the back and waste time and tell yourself. And the fixed mindset will come here, and I'll explain later on where labeling can affect our mindset. Where you believe that, oh, yeah man, we don't really have to do with the real reading and math things, so just sit down at the back of the class and waste time. And that causes the mindset to be fixed, cannot be changed. Versus having a growth mindset of wanting to actually go and learn.
I think you're pointing out your mindset can be negative, fixed negatively, and versus positive.
Right. So you have the negative, you have the pros and cons, both the negative and the positive twofold. So you'd have to apply oneself carefully, but it is based on how the mindset is trained to look at the situation that will determine how we go forward. And we'll get to that later. Alright? Now we want to look at how is it that our mindset is molded. The impact of praising a child, and this is very important. We become who we are called. Now imagine calling a child, you are very smart, telling a child, very smart, you're very confident, you're very beautiful. If that child leaves the house and you tell him, oh, there's nothing you can say that's different from what the parent already told him. So the child, their mindset becomes what it is that you, the person who they confide in, who they look up to, you have molded the child's mindset to think that I am smart, I can be smart, I can be confident, I can be beautiful, I can go places, and they work with that mindset no matter what else comes outside of their immediate circle. Alright? The impact of labeling. There is a tally, or the statistics, I did not look into it, which labels boys versus girls and their learning ability. Now, I would put a stop to that because all child can learn and all children must learn. Right? So everyone has the ability to learn. So there's nothing to say that a child cannot learn. Once you have put that thought process or label the child as being unable to learn, you have caused what we call a mental block on the situation. So for me, I always thought physics was never for me. And in physics class, I don't know what you could get me to do to pass 30%. But 30% was where I was, because I already blocked my mind from physics. But the moment I applied myself, when I reached university, I had to do physics, and I applied myself and told myself, listen, take one go at it at least and try it. And I ended up passing. But we made it. But it's a matter of what you label the child as. them know that you have the potential. So it's everything starts from young age. So they say between the age of 0 to 3, that's where they move their personality, that's also where they move their mindset. So they tell the child that you're nothing, you can't run away. They already start blocking out a lot of things. They start blocking out trying, even trying to go places. They block out even trying to want to go to church, go to school, go to work, anything, because they already blocked that mindset from even trying to go to where they're supposed to be, to dive into their full potential.
I saw an experiment in the US with one of the black schools where you have professionals who are running, begin to change the mindset of the students, and after they work on their mindset, grades begin to be applied to right students. So the point is that labeling and the environment cause them a mental block not to learn, but once you can change your mindset, when it reflects in the ability.
Similar point, somebody from the Church of Christ spoke record overseas just last night. And the person was saying to me, we're living in, that, well, generally, overseas. He's saying that, I was saying that when he goes like on the mart, shopping centers, you rarely see Chinese, Indians, whites. Loitering. So you go to see that. So you go to like some of the universities, when you see some person that is studying blacks are generally more on the ends, starting with all of blacks and green. And so what came to mind for the discussion is that they talk about mental health and the socialization from childhood days. One of the conclusions that we came up with is that one of the mindset is because persons are still believing that they're not sacred. So the black population sometimes seems like it's an ignorance to the fitting in to the other basis. That came up. So I'm not sure that we cope with discussion, but sometimes one of the appearance might push. And I totally agree with you in terms of the socialization from home, but the reality is that when they interface at school and stuff, some of these things comes out and create a challenge.
So you're actually going to the next point. So on the next point, I have the immediate environment and also the immediate circle or network. So the onus is not only on home, unfortunately, but who you have around you, right? I've highlighted a passage on the next slide coming up actually. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 33 where bad company corrupts good character. So imagine being around a set of persons who believe that university is not for us. And that is what you're going to draw on. Right? So you believe that you don't need to go anywhere because these sort of persons are not really encouraging you to go anywhere. So that's where you leave yourself being enslaved in that mindset to believe that you can't go anywhere further than here. You have blocked your limits, blocked your potential because of the circle. Because it can be family, friends, co-workers, any person that we have close to us. Also, what we listen to and what we allow to entertain us. Alright? So, when you listen to some of these songs nowadays, and you realize when a certain situation comes up, that's the song that comes to mind. And the song that comes to mind is not one that's encouraging, it's not one that can motivate you. That's the song that stops me, that's the that's the song alone to carry us through. Sometimes I'm sitting at work and I remember watching a Chinese show, and when the patient upset me, I just believe I can just fly and do a kung fu something in my head. And I say, Rachel, that doesn't make sense. You know, and you have to back up a little bit and realize this is not scriptural, so I have to clear my mind and reset and renew and refocus. Alright? So what we listen to and what we allow to entertain us can affect how we think and how we act. Alright? Now I want to look at how can we reset our mind, our state of mind. Now, whatever the issue is, wherever you are in life, whatever stage, whatever age, whatever position you are, never be afraid to tell yourselves that you cannot start over. You can start over. You can start over, you can start from where you are. If you feel you're unhealthy today, alright, let's get up and let us get started. Alright? The first thing we need to do is reset our mind. How can we do that? Speak to yourself about it. It is not madness. It's not a crime. Talk to yourself, speak positively and honestly. And I'm going to highlight the honest part because you can be very delusional when talking to yourself. So if you're not sure about what it is that you're talking to yourself about, you research some information. Keep yourself abreast with certain research and certain factual information. So if it is that I want to lose some weight, I'm going to say, alright, what can I do to lose weight? I'm not going to just sit in the couch and watch TV and believe that burns calories. I cannot tell myself that. But we have to go and research, and the research is going to tell us that we need to do some exercise, change our lifestyle and all those stuff, and then we start taking the action, the course of action needed. Right? So you speak to yourself, reason with yourself, and ask yourself, is this what I want? Is this what I need to do? And this is where the deliberative mindset comes in. The deliberative mindset can also lead to a growth mindset. Alright? That's where we have to step from. Read, and read. Never underestimate the power of reading. There's power in our knowledge. The more we read, the more we know. Alright? Surround, I always hear this term, or this phrase in high school that was told to us almost every day. Surround yourself with people and things that are good for you. Alright? The more you surround yourself with persons who are sound spiritually, the more encouragement you get spiritually, biblical encouragement. The more you surround yourself with persons who are high standing in society, quote unquote, then you begin to draw from their knowledge how did they do it. Also, and let me highlight this part, and I take this very, very serious. If you want to be a family person, and if you want to be someone who is very grounded, surround yourself with persons who have that firm belief. So if you want to be a family person, surround yourself with persons who are serious about being family oriented. Alright? So if for some men, they prefer to be their own men who can have a girl in a bone, whatever they call it, but you're going home to your one wife and you just think that I'm going to feel the need to have one because a man himself can have a one of the partners. No. But if you are around persons who are spiritually grounded or family or oriented, family minded, you get to see that, okay, I need to spend time with my family. That is one of the points that you brought up. You need to realize that they take time out to facilitate what family needs. And they don't just walk out there around the corner where these things are concerned. They're very serious in their action.
Appreciate that point. Namusha, just go ahead. It's a read. That's one to 25 by 6. there's a lot of readings out there that are negative. So I just wanted to some
To clarify, right.
There's a lot of stuff on the internet that you can research on because there's the opinion of others are not necessary, so that we can still make an assessment. But honestly, what you're saying, just to clarify that there's a lot of books that might not be for us. Might read, but might be negative.
Right, and that is correct. I would delve down into the point of what was taught, how to pick, choose, and refuse about the different information, to see what source of information is true, which one is dependable, the year, where the source, where do they get their source from, is it peer reviewed and all that. Still stuff like that, so that we're able to qualify the information.
And in addition, some parents cannot get very drastic. Because I'm a parent who said, I train my child from, I don't train my child. Not child from home, so I will. But she's saying that this curriculum needs to be set up automatically children turn out and socialize by our society. You understand what I'm saying? So she's creating a mindset for the person. That, not saying it's good idea, but I'm saying even in our curriculum, sometimes I know the Ministry of Education, we want to go off. I know that in recent years, especially from the early childhood, they're trying to revamp some of the books. Usually the books, you turn pages with this information based on the right pictures and kind of socialize and stuff. So all of that. As I said, as I said before, it is a package because you do so much at home. When you go to school now, sometimes children get confused and they're lost. And so, as I said, the family and parenting is a very essential role in reminding because sometimes they get the opposite of what they are learning.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. The last point on resetting our mindset is to give yourself some grace if a mistake is made. Because we're not perfect, we all make mistakes. If you fall, and just try to get up and start again. Okay, so she's asking how can you encourage someone who has a negative mindset?
Further on, if it's a personal situation, it's a situation at work. So at times, I would point out like a mistake that the person would have made, but how she interprets it is like she feels attacked.
That is a good question to touch upon because everybody is different. And I can tell you advice that I think that it might work, it might not work. Because the mindset of that person has to be changed first to be able to accept correction before you can give the correction to the person. So the first thing is to, well, there's a patient of mine that I don't know how much time, how many times I have to tell him, do not do X, Y, and Z. So I can't tell him what to do, so I said, okay, no problem. So I can't tell him what to do, so I said, okay, no problem. Came back and next time the situation is getting worse. I said, remember I mentioned to you that you're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. The person said, I can't tell him that. So I said, okay, no problem. No problem, just leave it as is, and then the person come back, situation lands on the bushes. Oh, but you never tell me something. So I remember I mentioned it to you. And I bring out the docket and I said, on multiple occasions, and every time I said it to you, write it on your file. I and you refuse to follow advice. So now that you need the bottle, sometimes you're supposed to do so. Right? So what we're going to do, we're going to go on another alternative to still try and fix the problem. So what I'm trying to say is there are certain situations, even though the mindset, there are some persons that until they up their toes when they learn. No matter how much you're trying to correct, they can only do so much on their own. So what you do, as the Bible says, encourage or provoke each other to do works with love. You're correcting with love, with patience, with kindness. And you just take it a little at a time. And allow them to see for themselves. Where sometimes you can help them to deliberate within their mind the pros and cons of the action that they're doing. So not necessarily to say to them, say, you're not supposed to turn your shoes black or whatever the case is. Help them to reason it through and see the fault for themselves. Then the rest of that is left up to them.
Yes, defensive.
A person who gets defensive when they are corrected is not a self-esteem issue. A person thinks that their self-worth is intact, but it's something deeper than that. And we got to get to that underlying problem before we end the person. Want to see any form of criticism and they see that that person is a self-esteem issue. They think that their self-worth is intact, but the issue is far deeper than that. So that's just an underlying issue before we can, because the person will take criticism well.
Just wanted to comment because I can't like how you have framed this slide because your emphasis doesn't seem to be changing the mindset of somebody else, but how do we set our mindset? And I think that's an important point because while we can influence others, the changing of the mindset really comes down to the individual getting to that point. So as a parent to a child, we can try to influence, we can urge as one spouse to another spouse, we can urge and encourage as a brethren, and to another brethren, we can encourage. But the changing of the mindset and all of what you are doing here, you have highlighted in the bullets, is zeroing on you coming to a point where you want to, and what are the things you do towards that end, which is consistent with Scripture, because when needs are felt, then action follows.
That is beautifully said, and that's basically the presentation summarized. Alright, so the last will, just ending with a scripture. As mentioned, whatever is written in scripture is written for learning, it's also given for reproof, for correction, all that we need for life and godliness is in scripture. So I need to always revert to that. Philippians 4 verse 8. Whatsoever things are true, whatever things are pure, whatever things are right, whatever things are of good report, think about these things. And once you're able to think about the things that are right, the things that are pure, now dropping the things that are legal, and do those things, and then we are able to act on those things. Then our minds will be renewed, and we'll be able to deliberate, and to grow, and to fix our mind on things that are heavenly. Right? And that is the end of my presentation. It was nice speaking to you all. Any other questions or comments?
Alright, thank you, Richard. Going to Sister Carol wants to give a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Did you enjoy that presentation? Okay, I did too. So on behalf of Patrick City's YPG, we would like to extend our appreciation. It was a very knowledgeable presentation, and I hope that we all learned something and will take away something from this presentation. So just to show our appreciation, we have a little token for you.
Thanks again. Now, I was hoping that we would have other young people here. I know I saw Dean earlier and he asked what time YPG was, so I was expecting him. I was expecting a few more because they had said that they would have come, but nonetheless, we want to see if we can drive the YPG, see if we can grow the YPG, and we want to be able to get ourselves in a position where we can answer the big questions. So I'm personally confronted with questions. We don't want to, we want to be in a position to give them a binding answer, an effective answer, an answer which they have to ponder. They may not accept it, but they have to ponder. So we want to be in a position going forward to give you the equipment or the knowledge to answer some of these big questions. What we want the next time, God's willing, I don't know if Charles, if I'm putting you too early, is to look at what are some of the jobs which will be redundant in the next 5 to 10 years. You think you're ready for that 2 weeks then? 2 weeks, not sure about 2 weeks. Ah, that's fine, I can give you enough time, let's tell me when. But one of the things we want to look at, we want to, in the passage of is very good because that addresses the mindset. Whatever things are lovely, whatever things are true, whatever things are just, think on these things. God wants to change our mindset, and of course, wants to do that, our mindset will change. But we want to look at one, somebody asked a question, how does dinosaurs fit in the Bible? We want to look at that in one session. We want to look at the arguments people put forward for old earth. When we talk about old earth, we're talking about 6.1 billion years. Versus a young earth, 6,000 years. We want to look at the two sides, and then we want to kind of build a position, right? So we want to look at these things going forward. And any other questions that you may be confronted with at work, school, university, so you can answer these questions. So I'm not giving you for the next 2 weeks, but we're going to see what can happen right with you next 2 weeks, right? One of the things that the weeks wants us to do is to have a session. I had a student meeting here yesterday, and we want to organize a session there with the kids.